Just a few minutes.
Florida judge read the formal charge against former Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman today to 40 potential jurors. Actually had 30 in the room, 10 being without. We got to talk about that. We got our panel of experts here, John Phillips, Richard Kuritz. Why did we only have 30 in the room? We went through the whole process of picking out 40, now 30 in the room. Is it a waste of time? What's the
courtroom's about this big. I mean, it's a small courthouse, and so they're limited to what they can fit in. And the thought was, I think, that as you release jurors for cause, where they're just too biased to be involved, you plug somebody else in and keep going. Well, they didn't have to do that today. They got through the 30 with the state's questioning. So I don't know.
You're allowed to think. You think's cool. That's why we have you. You're the expert.
That's right.
30 out of what do you do with the other 10? They're just sitting there hanging out?
I think they're hanging out coffee, wondering why they're not a part of the rest of the story right now. I think what's going on is a little surprising. It's amazing. Obviously, we're used to Jacksonville, where our courtrooms are much bigger. Even our smaller courtrooms can accommodate more than 30 people very easily. So I was very surprised to hear that we've gone through the process to get 40, and we're only going through 30. So I was a little surprised by that, but I guess, you know, sometimes you have to deal with the conditions you're in. Apparently, it's just not big enough a courtroom.
You alluded to something that I want to get to later. Let's get to the bigger stories, though, of the day. The fact that the speed with which we got through today, the state's done.
Sure. I'm actually, you know, you start doing the numbers, it's not that shocking, I guess. I mean, I would expect it to have gone longer, but when you're talking about only 30 people, if the state spent 10 minutes with each person, that's 5 hours, okay? So, I mean, that's one day with lunch and a break. If they spent 10, 15 minutes, you know, even 15 minutes, we're talking about 450, you know, you get to do the math. So it may have gone a little bit faster than we expected, but we're only dealing with 30 people.
And there are a lot of issues to cover, but you don't want to educate or create bias where there isn't any. As my dad used to say, don't start any mess where there is none. You know, that's, of course, I told you what the real quote with that was off the air. But you know, you don't want to create problems about, you know, the Trayvon Martin Foundation. Anybody ever heard of it? Well, and then people are wondering, well, maybe I should think something. Maybe there is something to that, and they're overthinking it, and you don't want to create that problem either. Okay, so now the defense has a night to sleep on it. Will they be just as quick? What does trends show with a situation like this?
Well, I will say I've picked several juries with Mr. Delarianda, and he tends to go a little bit quicker than I do. I would expect the defense to go all of tomorrow, and I'd be a little bit surprised if they don't bleed into Friday. I would be very surprised and disappointed if they don't make it through Friday.
It was a favorable panel for Bernie, too, though. And when you see that now, Mark's got to say, all right, now I got to tear these guys up. There was only 2 NRA people. You know, I was hoping to have more guns and use this NRA person as an example to kind of help make my point with the juror more broadly. Same thing with violence. There were only a couple members that have been affected by actual violent crime.
Right. And so some of the questions being asked, we're just reading about, so attorney asking, do you watch CSI? Do you watch Law and Order? Obviously getting the opinion of what they actually think, the preconceived notions of how trial works. 14 of the 30 that saw, just about half, said they've been a victim of crime. That kind of surprised me. I guess crime, there's, you know, various kinds. 2 violent. Okay, so you've got somebody who's been a victim of violent crime. Do you have to get rid of them automatically because they've got these fears in their brain? Or?
No. And 14 out of 30, believe it or not, it's not very surprising.
Really?
That's also including, you know, someone broke into my car, I came out and my CDs were missing or my change was missing. So that's not shocking. Only 2 out of 30 is actually a pretty good number. I mean, I think it speaks pretty well for Florida. But no, you don't automatically get rid of them. You don't know what the violence was, and you got to know, if they already made up their mind, are they going to be able to still sit and be open-minded?
There was one person that was very similar to this, and that they're gone. I mean, they'll be knocked out, just like the person that's like an NRA trainer. More than likely, they're going to be somebody, whether you get them for cause or they're going to be one of the peremptories, they're gone. But, you know, what I like as a plaintiff's attorney and then the prosecutors, we get to go first. And so you get to have that bond. Hey, how are you? How are you? And then when, you know, when Richard gets up there, they might be a little tired of the process.
They're already warmed up with the first guy.
And so you get to have a lot of rapport. And in the CSI, you can make jokes. Now, this isn't like that. Now, you do realize it, and you get to have that, you know, grow that relationship.
Sure. But what I do with that, as I turn it around a little bit, but you understand, we do have some of that technology, and some of that is absolutely possible. And a lot of people realize it's absolutely out there. So a lot of it you can turn back around.
Very cool, guys. We appreciate your time. As you mentioned, the size of the courtroom. Sanford's a small community. Even one potential juror responded that he thought the whole thing was a detriment to the community. And he says it's going to be a problem going forward. And I don't know if that makes him a good juror or not. But don't forget, we have an entire section dedicated to the trial on firstcoastnews.com. A number of poll questions you can answer there. Our expert's going to be with us throughout the duration, and we really do appreciate you guys. This has been awesome stuff. All right, so we've got a